Hey everyone, Chris Lopez here, and we have your November updates for all up and down the Front Range. So Colorado Springs, Pueblo, Denver, and Northern Colorado. So we're going to talk trends. I've got a really interesting data point from two property managers I've talked to the last couple of weeks. They were seeing a record all-time high in a certain type of new investor or new landlord. And then we got a lot of deals we're going to talk about. We got deals from rentals in Greeley to new builds up north to a really cooler seller financing deal here in Centennial, which is like 12% down. So stats, what we're hearing on the street, and then, of course, we're going to talk deals. So I got my crew here with me. I have Jeff White, Steve Medina, Troy Howell, and Newt up north. What's up, guys?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah, so Jenny is unfortunately, I think she's out of town today. She can't join us, but I'll be sharing some stats from down south. So let's jump into the trends here, and I'll just kind of give a very quick one of Denver and Springs, just kind of give everyone the main theme here. And what we're seeing right now for like November trends is essentially seasonality. Prices from November to October are just normal stats. Prices, showings, all that are slightly down, but all within normal seasonality adjustments of going from October to November. Because this October, November, December is their slowest time frame. Around the holidays and snow, people don't want to move. Now, here's the really interesting thing. Prices are very, very stable. So in Denver, we saw prices go down about 3% from October, which is a normal seasonal decline, but they're up about 0.4%, so about 0.4% from last year. So not gangbusters, but flat/stable. Now in Springs, what we are seeing there for sales prices is both homes and condos are down about 1% from last month, but houses are up 6% from November 2022, and condos are up 2% from November 2022. So again, we're seeing seasonal trends down there where prices are lower in November and October, but prices are up year over year. So, I mean, I could go into a bunch of other stats on there, but I would say this is not much else going on. We're seeing the normal seasonal trends. Prices are staying stable with some modest appreciation depending on which market you are in around town. Of course, with all the details, we got all the bullet points, all the numbers on the blog link. So go check that out. But Steve, moving up north, what are you guys seeing up in Northern Colorado for trends?
It's kind of the same. We're seeing, a few more days on market, which happens around this time of year. Some of the pricing, the median price is up about 1.9% for, all of the MLS. Weld's up 3.8, Larimer's down a little bit. Larimer's down kind of across the board, and Weld's roughly even. And, Boulder's up, or, Boulder County's, up. So we're seeing a little bit of everything up here. And it's, but it's not dramatic, huge shifts, but there are a few more days on market. And that means that people have opportunities to find better deals and work them through appropriately to get their best deal.
So you're seeing is it kind of looking like seasonal trends now?
Yeah, it's fairly seasonal with the little, add is that, there's some people that are trying to get deals done by the end of the month because, as an investor or as a, the builder with new construction, there's some added incentive to close it out before the end of the year.
Yep. Cool. So let's talk about interest rates on here and Troy. I mean, I think it was in November where rates spiked to 8%-ish. They have dropped, I think, about a point-ish since then. But I feel like November was the highest interest rate we've seen. So talk to us about that and what you're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've hopefully hit the peak, and now we're starting the downward trend. So we've definitely been seeing some improvement. I think with the deal we closed with you, Jeff, here yesterday, touching in the sixes, and we'll talk a little bit later about yours, Steve, touching in the fives. So to depend upon packaging, circumstances, situations, I mean, we're definitely seeing, like you said, Chris, a lot better interest rates, a solid 0.5%, if not more, improvement on the 30-year fixed.
Yeah.
So it's good. We're relieved to see this.
Yeah, and I was I'll say somewhat surprised to see the stats as, I'll say, stable and seasonal as they were, with how much rates really shot up, especially that October, November timeframe. I was anticipating the brakes that would hit the brakes harder in the market. But like, yeah, it didn't hit as hard as I thought it was going to. Was there no surprise by that? Oh, go ahead,
Well,
Troy.
I think some of that too, Chris, was that we're in that season of the year and the timing where the market's at. You can negotiate better with the sellers, and a lot of the deals coming through have concessions built in to help buy out or buy down the interest rate. So
Yeah.
2-1 buy down type stuff is going on, which is kind of the trendy thing, but buying down the interest rate permanently is going on. So it's taken some of the edge off of what those rates were.
Yeah, Chris, I think it's also the move-up buyers. Those guys are just sitting on the sidelines, because why would you give up your 3%, 4% interest rate or less, and then go buy a house with Troy for 7%? Unless you have unless you're like divorced, death, marriage, they forced to move for those situations. But if people are like expanding their family from like 2 kids to 3 kids, they'll just get bunk beds and stick it out in their 1,200 square foot house until rates come down, because they're going to hold on to that 3% interest rate as long as possible, whether they want to or not.
Yep.
But the investors are taking advantage of the opportunity and making things happen even in this rate environment, which is cool to see.
So one thing that you touched on, Jeff, that really surprised me. I talked to 2 property managers here, the owner of Grace Property Management and Eco Space Property Management, both great property management companies. They manage quite a few doors, so they're big operators. And I was talking to them for just getting updates and trends. Plus, I'm selling a few rentals, so I was getting some lease information, some details, kind of outlined with one of the PMs for come the springtime. But I was asking them, what are they seeing? I was like, hey, are more landlords selling than usually? They're like, nope, same trends. I was like, well, are you seeing fewer investors buy properties in the market? They're like, yeah, I mean, seasonally about the same. They're like, but what they were both seeing is essentially an all-time high of new owner investors. So these are people who are converting their primary residence to a rental property because they don't want to lose that 3% interest rate. And they just said, absolutely, that is a huge lead source for them right now. And I was surprised. I was surprised and not surprised. I think part of it too is like I'm the mindset of like, hey, I'm liquidating and moving some stuff, so I'm a little bit of tunnel vision on there. But I wasn't sure with how the interest rates are, and then the legislation coming down the pipeline, how much that would affect owners. But for new landlords, like they are just converting a lot of their homes over to rentals, which is just going to be another thing that helps to stabilize prices. But are you guys surprised by that stat from the PM? Because I was surprised that's like an all-time high. No, you're not, Jeff? All right, you're like, no, whatever, move on.
Well, because it makes sense too, because if you think about it, it's like that rate, it's basically once in a lifetime. It's almost like free money with where inflation's been out the last couple of years. And that mortgage payment, unless you're like pretty much with how low that mortgage payment is in almost every location, you're probably going to cash flow pretty well for all around Denver Metro or up north and down south. So it's like, yeah, it's actually a smart financial decision. So pretty much it locks the supply in for, people for houses, right? So now we're stuck with this lack of inventory still. We're not solving the problem because these people, we can't force them to sell. They're just going to hold on to it. And it makes financial sense for them.
Yeah, we were seeing, a little bit a couple months ago where they were calling them reluctant landlords because people would get moved or a job opportunity or some reason, kind of like Jeff was saying, some reason they had to get out, but they didn't feel like they could get the price they wanted. And so they were going, well, if we can't, sell it at the price we want because of the rates, then let's rent it out. And so I think that's continuing. And I think the interesting question would be back to the property managers, where are these people that are in the primary going to? Are they downsizing, moving out, going someplace less expensive, going someplace more expensive? What does that move look like that they're going to keep that? Because, if the rates are still at, a little over 7, they still have to get someplace in order to be able to rent that previous one out, which will cash flow probably in general if they had that, low rate and maybe even a decent amount of equity that they only had to have a smaller, say 50 or 60% loan to value, they probably have a really low payment and it's going to cash flow. So it'd be interesting to see how they're flipping the other side of that. Where are they going?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did, but that would be interesting data point to know. I mean, subjectively, I would say I've heard quite a few stories of people, and this is just clients I've talked to and other people. They're moving out of Colorado just for life reasons, job reasons, all that stuff. And a lot are keeping their rental properties. I had a lot of conversations about like, hey, you can keep it, you can sell it. Here's the options. So yeah, I think it's a great play for a lot of people. Anyone out there who's doing that, I would say be mindful of the capital gains exclusion rule. If you did live in that house for 2 years or more, and you can, so the rule states if you live in the house 2 out of the last 5 years, you can sell the house and exclude up to $250,000 if you're single, or $500,000 if you're married from capital gains. So for people that have a lot of equity in there, hey, turn to rental for a couple of years, let prices climb a little higher, let the economy stabilize. But if you have the opportunity to like sell that and walk away with a couple $100,000 in equity, cap gains free, man, do it. That is like such an amazing gift from Uncle Sam. So like for people out there doing it, it's a great play. But I would definitely put that on a mental clock and put that on a couple calendars to make sure I don't forget about that 5-year exclusion rule.
That's a great point. I mean, put your 36-minute egg timer, a 36-month egg timer on it.
Yeah.
And then, check it at, 24.
So let's talk about some deals here, because I know we've got all sorts of deals to talk about. And Jeff, I think you've probably got the sexiest one to talk about. We got seller financing, which, hey, we don't hear those a whole lot, but we're starting, we're starting to do a couple here and there. And you've got a seller financing deal you did in Centennial. What's the details on it?
Yeah, so it's basically a 1988 not townhome, single family build, the high ceilings, the big windows, full like renovated kitchen, like hardwood floor, like very nice place. Would be a fantastic rental, and it's just a tired landlord. The guy's paid it down basically, from 26 years he's owned it, and he's just paid it down, probably depreciated the whole entire property. And if he sells it, he would have to pay all those capital gains, unless he doesn't want to do a 1031. He just wants to cash his chips in and just spend time with his grandkids. So the grandpa he was the seller and listing agent too. So he is basically like, well, I could, if I sell it to you, I want this price, but if we do seller financing, we'll do a little bit higher price. But I'm willing to work with you on the terms. And that's the difference there. So it's basically negotiating the terms that were favorable to my buyer, because he didn't want to put 20% down. That was a big hanging point. He's like, I don't want to use conventional lenders, 20% down, and then, higher interest rate if I went that route. So could we negotiate that? And that's the beauty of seller financing, is you can, it's all negotiable. It's whatever you negotiate with the seller, and it's both a win-win for both parties. So my buyer is getting a great rental property where he'll be able to rent it out and cash flow. And also on the flip side, the seller is getting a great, basically a borrower/buyer, where if he defaults, he still gets the property. And so it's a win-win for both parties. And the seller also gets the benefit of the tax hit won't be as much, because he's willing to take less down payment and interest-only payments. So it's a really good deal, win-win situation for both buyer and seller. And definitely they're not common deals out there like that. But if you find a motivated seller, right time of year, and you can explain seller financing, the pros of it, it could be a mutually beneficial type of relationship for both parties.
Jeff, I'm curious how the conversation came up about seller finance.
Yeah, so he had it at the bottom. So in his listing, it was because he's been an investor for 30 years as well. So he just put it at the bottom. So seller might be open to owner carry, something like that, right? Like one sentence. So then I just discussed it with them and said, hey, like, so what are you looking for? What are the top 3 things that you want? And then, just the communication. And then we found with seller financing too, you basically don't have to go through all the full gamut of underwriting with conventional lenders. So they don't ask for an arm and leg. And all you have to really show is all my guy really had to provide was just his like couple bank statements to prove he had the down payment and his credit score. And the seller was willing to use Credit Karma and not even do like a hard inquiry. So it was really simple underwriting, Troy. I know you're probably freaking out.
Yeah.
No, Credit Karma is the best model in the world,
know,
right?
Yeah.
Let's Troy uses.
Oh man.
So how much? What was like the general like ballpark cost for like the legal fees and other stuff associated with seller finance? Like what'd that cost?
Yeah, so you have to have an attorney draft up all the seller financing like note and documents, and then you have to find a title company that could also close one of those transactions because not all title companies could do it. So all in all, it'll probably be purchase price. We got to $585 is what we agreed upon, and 14% down payment, 30-year amortization. And basically it's going to be legal fees, attorney fees will be, I think that we're asked to ballpark in like $4,000 for everything.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No underwriter fee. So it's like you're paying for one thing, but you're saving on the other. So all in all, it's going to be a good transaction. And the other stipulation is you wanted to close before year end. I know that's a big thing for some people for tax purposes. And you can have these conversations with sellers right before year end because they might need some type of help with taxes, and seller financing is a great tool to offer them if they own the property free and clear, for sure.
And you found this property on the MLS, right?
Yep.
Amazing.
It was keyword search. They don't always call it seller financing, or sometimes they call it owner carry. Sometimes they don't call it all. And then you just have to kind of just say like, oh, how long has this seller owned this property? Maybe we just ask, because you ask 100 sellers or listing agents and maybe one will say yes.
So I want to go through. So in year one, year one, you said it was a 12% or 14% down. So
by December 31st of 2023, he has to do 12% down payment, 5% in year 2, and then 3%
additional down payment.
Yeah. To show like he's all in, right?
So 12 in year 1, 5 in year 2, 3 in year 3.
All right, 12, 5
or something like that.
Yeah, 12, 5 3s. Yeah, something like that. And basically spreads out also, the tax bill for the seller and also the commitment for my buyer. And he's I ran the comps on it. He is slightly overpaying for it a little bit based on the comps, but he's okay with that because he's getting a 5.9% rate on day for first year.
And you said that's interest only, right?
Interest only. So he just wants cash flow. So it accomplishes his goal. He doesn't care about paying principal because his plan is to refi in 3 to 5 years with a conventional lender like Mr. Troy over there.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it, man. Amazing deal. And this is like the cool stuff you see in the market where there's, I think, this is the nuance in deal making and the nuance in how like it can be a win for the seller and a win for the buyer. It's not just I win, you lose, Newt, or vice versa. But hey, the seller is getting the price he wanted. And then it helps with his capital gains and depreciation for capture, putting that over a couple of years. Buyer gets to put less down, better cash flow right now, some flexibility. Like, great job, Jeff. Man, hats off to putting that one together.
Yeah, I like the creative ones.
So talking about year-end stuff, and this is the thing we harp on all the time, and by the time you listen to this podcast and take action, it's going to be the end of the year, so like this window is closing. But keep this in mind because every year I feel like we are a broken record on, hey, Halloween's over, great time, guys, to go out there and do something. But speaking about year-end deals, that helped motivate the seller with Jeff's seller financing deal because he wanted to get the transaction closed and presumably that first chunk of cash in for 2023. At the same time, though, Steve Medina up north has had a little bit of a wild ride, but also putting together a really good deal for a new build that he's working on, I think, for his next Nomad, and some interesting stuff with the financing and some great year-end stuff. So, Steve, walk us through, because you got another great year-end deal for you.
Yeah. So I guess we've been thinking about, moving again, and things seem to be right. We talk about the opportunities with new construction, and I was out in the market looking, and I happened to come across a new builder I hadn't seen before. And I looked at the floor plan, and then I saw that they had a couple of them available. And I was like, wow, this might really fit that bill, because what we're talking about is buying a resale and fixing it up. But the prices weren't actually that much better for the resales because everybody's trying to get as much as they can. This one particular builder was, looking to finish and close out as much as they could by the end of the year, because that helps them for their sales goals and that. And so their fiscal year ends December 31st. So we went in, actually ended up, signing a purchase contract with them, with me as the realtor for my wife and I. And we didn't. They actually had a in-house, lender that was, I guess, making the ability to buy down a loan inside their organization down to 5.875. And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. Plus, it was over 10% off its normal list price. Now you could say that's frontline, but that's 80 something $1,000 on that, and then 30 something thousand to buy down. That's a pretty reasonable amount. And when I ran the comps on things, it really will be that much higher next year. It's just as they get closer to their completion date, their incentives get larger and larger in a lot of these, especially add in that they want to close this out before the end of the year. So their lender wouldn't loan us that. And so we ended up having to go a different way because of having lived in a couple places. And, we're moving a little bit to help my wife be a little bit closer to her work. And so, Troy and I had been working together and working on getting pre-qualified, because I didn't know if it was going to be a resale or new. But then Troy kind of swooped in. We got stuff organized. So I went back to the builder and said, will you give us the 5% seller concessions? They said, sure. So that's about 15% off their list price. Plus they threw in some appliances and some other things that helped, make the deal even sweeter, if we can get it done by the end of the year. Well, guess what? Troy and I and his team are hustling, to get all the documents. We just got closing, some of the title commitment yesterday, and we're getting some more documents. And so we're going to close next week. And then the chaos of, moving during Christmas and all that. But my family's been through this drill. And so we're pretty excited because the opportunity to get in new construction, great stuff, at that kind of discount. It's roughly 15% off. I could have went and purchased more down. Troy gave me, kind of a think sheet to be able to kind of look through. And I could have kept buying down at 8% buy downs. But when I look at what the benefit is on the PITI or just the PI, it's about $45 a month. And it would take about 60 months to pay that off. So what I'm doing is taking the seller concession, using that almost all towards all my closing and loan cost and the points buy down. So I won't have a lot more cost than that besides the down payment. And so that works best for me to be able to get in. And then I have, 5 years that it will still be better than the next lower rate that would be paid off. So if in 5 years I can get something below that 5.875, awesome. But if not, I've got a 5.875 to work with, for as long as I need it. So I think it's a hell of a deal, to be able to walk into $100,000, equity starting off. So that's, kind of the play that is working for us. And so we're after it.
Yeah, that's a great deal. And just, I mean, it really highlights the opportunity with, this time of year. And then, especially with new builds, keeping their timeline and for quarter end, year end, and also realizing that they usually get a lot more creative than they never want to lower the price. So they'll get creative in other ways for concessions or rate buy downs or throw in whatever upgrades that new builds can do. So that is like a textbook example, Steve, of how to do it. Congrats. And then, I mean, Troy, I want to talk to you from a lending standpoint because, we are seeing more people buy new builds. And we're also seeing a lot more forward commitments and some very attractive lending packages from lenders. And I've heard some stories like what Steve ran into were like, hey, either they couldn't do it or, there is, it wasn't as good as was promised. So are you seeing like more people buy new build? Are you seeing more financing issues on the new build lender? Any trends in the new build space would be a better way for me to ask that question?
Yeah, I think a common theme that I've seen over the years is sometimes the expertise or the nuance to how to get it packaged to make it work they always come through, right? They underwrite to the same guidelines. It's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, it's VA, FHA. We all have the same guidelines, but some of these institutions, shall we say, or builder lenders will overlay an additional requirement, or they may not be as creative with how they could put the financing together for the borrowers to make it work at the end of the day. So like in Steve's situation, it was really an odd pushback that they were giving him on why they couldn't get the financing. And he did everything he could to explain to him, show him. And I even went to my underwriting team and was like, is this a thing that I'm just missing out on? Or I didn't see a memo come across the desk that they changed a guideline requirement that I'm completely unaware of. And they're like, no. And so we were both perplexed, but to Steve's credit, he got in there and negotiated hard. And we got to the rate that they were going to give, with me being even an outside lender. And we're cranking it through and getting it done within a few weeks of contract to get it closed for everybody's benefit. So, yeah, but sometimes the builders just, in some of the bigger institutions, the banks and whatnot, don't have some of that creative financing in their wheelhouse. Still meeting the guidelines, not doing anything fraudulent, obviously. But you got to dig into the details.
And I think this highlights from like a more of a macro level for like investors just in general for, years and years of, buying rentals is that, hey, there's gonna be opportunities sometimes in new builds. Sometimes there's some special grant programs you can use. But I think you always want to have like a go-to local lender, like a Troy Howell that you've used and that you have a relationship with, because, hey, this opportunity popped up with Steve. He had to move fast, already knew Troy, already had a relationship, and they were able to move very quickly to make it happen. And this is not the first time I've seen this where, hey, we have won a lot of deals over the years. Hey, the buyer did a good job on their end. We did a good job on our agent side, but our lending partners, they had their act together. They already had a relationship with the investor. And as other deals have fallen apart, we've been able to scoop things in. So it's a great reminder at high level to like always have like a key lender on your team. And I'm a big fan, obviously, of Troy, but in general, like have a key local lender because like that over the years, just I've never seen any bank, any website, any app consistently beat having just a really good local lender on your team.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I just echo that, because Troy and I, kind of put our heads together and, I have been a very above the board, on everything I've ever done. That's just the only way I know how to operate. But I like to know what the rules are because I will live within them to get that. But, Troy not only helped me figure this out, but we were getting pre-qualified. This piece where I took the second run at him, because a lot of people say, yeah, you know what, I guess it's not meant to be. Let's just wait. I'm like, no, that's almost, something that I don't have in me. But we went back. I think we started on basically December 5th. We were hustling. So we're going to be in there just under 3 weeks from purchase contract to closing. And, Troy, based on, the income and the strength of the balance sheet, could do some things with, appraisal and other things to be able to help me save where I can too. So it's, it's not lost on me that the partnership between the lender and the team is critical, because he's the, I guess the fluid that makes the hot air balloon go up, because without it, nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah, but appreciate that. And yeah, we're fortunate we don't even require an appraisal on this. Now, that's nothing magical that I've done. It's a lot of a testament to Steve and his strength of him and his wife and their credit and what they're putting down. And there's a lot of facets that go into an appraisal not being required on the transaction, but being aware of it, reading the findings when we run it through the computer with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and one said they wanted a computer, the other one did not. So we go with one that does not, getting the pricing lined up. It works out to be great. But starting that pre-approval process early helped us a lot, Steve, be able to move quickly on this. And
that's right. I forgot to check the box. Don't everybody remember to check the box to not do the hard pull. That's maybe where the one mistake I've made in this whole thing. So I've gotten probably 40 calls a day.
Well, and we were going to have to eventually. So that's kind of the crux. You just got it out of the way a little earlier.
The nice thing is you're going to be able to pull it twice in the same month, and it's not gonna ping it. It's not gonna.
Well, actually, we won't pull it again. We've pulled our one shot, and we're done. So.
Oh, good. The calls will die down.
Well, there's a soft check that's done prior. We'll do a soft check.
But yeah, so
to make sure you didn't buy a Ferrari or something to put in the garage.
Well, and to be clear too, Steve. So, Chris, you already mentioned Nomad, but for the people listening that.
Sure.
Moving into this new as an owner occupant, but you're renting the one that you're currently sitting in after you move, correct?
Yes. So we'll take a look at whether or not, if the market gets better, if we sell this one, but if, the best opportunity now is to rent it.
And then I know we got a few minutes left, but Newt, I want to pivot over you because you were talking about a really cool deal that came across your desk in Greeley. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, there are still deals out there. And, I was looking at this property that it's an older home near UNC, but it's probably, I think it was built in 1924, and it's a single family that was converted into a 4-unit. 3 of the units are 2-bed, 1 bath. One of them is 1 bed, 1 bath, and it's under rented. And so at the purchase price that they currently have, I believe it's 49, with 35% down, you could still positively cash flow. But the beauty of this particular listing that I saw is that it has an additional lot. So there might be a potential, depending on, the city zoning and everything, there might be potential for some additional building like an ADU or a parking lot. So, I mean, the whole point of me bringing that up was just that there are still deals, especially in this season.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, I mean, great heads up play and deal on that. And if you guys have any questions on looking at properties up north, Newt and Steve are my go-to guys up there. If you want to come down to Denver, talk with me, talk with Jeff. We do all sorts of investing. Jeff is also the poster child of house hacking, is the nickname we have for him around the office. And actually, I think the day after this podcast comes out, so kind of like late December, we actually are doing a webinar on a couple house hack deal analyses. So in-depth dive. So you can see some underwriting on some of these deals Jeff is talking about. I have some of these deals Troy's the lender on as well. We'll have everyone in the studio actually running through those deals. So if you're a house hacker, definitely come to that or check out the recording and just email one of us if you need the link and can't find it in the show notes. And of course, down south, you have Jenny Bayless, who's out today, but she's always around and she's doing deals herself. So everyone out there, this has been fantastic. I always enjoy these. I get to learn other stats. I get to learn deals and just fun nuances. So again, if you guys have any questions, reach out to us. We're here to help you out. If you want all the details and notes, definitely go check out the link in the show notes. Our blog has all the data on there. And otherwise, have a happy new year. And on that thought, just popped my mind, we are starting to work on our 2024 investor guidebook. So everyone on the call here, reminder, your chapter is going to be coming due soon. And everyone out there listening, please submit your chapter to enter your chapter in the book for 2024. The more, the merrier. I think we had 40 last year. So I got to have at least 41 this year to meet my growth goal of more investors in the book. So everyone out there, thanks a lot. Jeff, Steve, Troy, Newt, thank you guys so much for coming out today.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Have a great holiday.
Everyone,